Some four-state parents and students protest their school district's mask mandate and the app that could help predict illness.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
We have a late developing story of crashes backing up traffic on I-44 in the Joplin area. This is KOAM News at 5. The Joplin Police Department says westbound I-44 near the Main Street exit is shut down due to multiple crashes on the interstate. I-44 is shut down from that exit all the way to the Range Line exit. They're asking people to avoid that area if possible. The crashes happened right around the time that a storm was passing through that area. And Nick Kelly, we have continuing scattered storms right now.
Absolutely, Dal. And if that crash was due to rain that passed on through, I would recommend taking 32nd between the Main Street exit and the Range Line exit to make your way around that detour. In the meantime, partly sunny skies from 7th and Range Line, and that same scatter storm that came over that crash site at I-44 in Maine near Mercy, that's working through. You can see it work through up along Main Street. Now it's passing around Carl Junction in Oronogo right now, but there are other scattered storms out there with some moderate to heavy rainfall possible, so something to keep in mind if you will be out and about on the roads this evening. If you're under the rain, you're in the 80s. Other areas are near 90 degrees with it feeling like the upper 90s in a couple of spots, but we will fall back through the 80s, 70s, down to 73 tonight. More rain chances down, but that doesn't stop the heat from returning. We'll break down the forecast here in a bit.
See you then. Some Fort Scott, Kansas high school students and parents voiced their opposition to a school mask mandate. They showed up outside the Board of Education office today to protest the school board's mask mandate for the current school year. The school district requires students and staff to wear face masks while in school buildings and school vehicles.
It's not okay to force somebody to wear a medical device against their will.
KOAM reached out to the USD 234 superintendent, but he was unavailable. According to the school district's website, the school board will reevaluate the mask mandate at each monthly school board meeting. We're going to hear from a parent who attended the protest tonight at 6. A legal ruling bans a Southeast Kansas man and his contracting company from doing business in the state and orders him to pay a penalty and restitution. The Attorney General had filed a lawsuit against Don Diebold of Viola, doing business as Diebold LLC. The AG accuses Diebold of violating the Kansas Consumer Protection Act, failing to provide goods to consumers after being paid, and making transactions that were excessively one-sided in his favor. When Diebold failed to respond, an Allen County District Court judge ordered him to pay two consumers a total of more than $18,000 in restitution and to pay $40,000 in civil penalties, in addition to the cost of the Attorney General's investigation. Diebold tells us he believes he is not banned from doing business in the state. A lot of area school kids will return to class carrying supplies donated by strangers who care. The call center Joplin Alorica partnered with the Seneca Bright Futures program to donate 75 fully loaded backpacks to area children. Alorica jumped in after learning of the need of some struggling families.
Our people are incentivized by helping their community. Anytime that we have a call to action to help our community and be able to provide items for school districts, for Ronald McDonald House, any of those great organizations, our people just jump into action.
The contents of the backpacks varied to meet the needs of students at various grade levels. New images continue to emerge from Afghanistan, where thousands of Americans and Afghan special visa applicants are clamoring to evacuate. President Biden met with his national security team this morning to discuss the latest developments, as he also continues to defend his decision to withdraw. Natalie Brand has more from the White House.
This newly released video shows a little girl handed to U.S. troops over a wall at Kabul's International Airport. Another shows a woman being helped over. Inside a U.S. airbase in Qatar, crowds of Afghan citizens wait to have their documents processed. The Biden administration says 12,000 people have been transported out of the country since the end of July, including American citizens and Afghan allies. But there are still tens of thousands waiting to get out.
The department is sending consular staffing teams to Qatar and Kuwait to assist with the transit effort, and we're preparing teams to surge to other processing locations as well.
The State Department has sent more messages urging U.S. citizens and green card holders to come to the airport, though they cannot guarantee safe passage. The Pentagon says it's still working towards its goal of evacuating up to 9,000 people a day.
The CENTCOM command team will continue to bring in the airflow required to fly out those people.
President Biden is pushing back on criticism of the drawdown, including from members of his own party, saying he doesn't believe the U.S. could have withdrawn from Afghanistan at any time without chaos. In an interview with ABC News, the president said he would have pulled out regardless of the deal made by the previous administration.
Your top military advisors weren't against withdrawing on this timeline. They wanted you to keep about 2,500 troops.
No, they didn't. It was split. That wasn't true.
The president suggested U.S. forces could stay in Afghanistan past the August 31st deadline until all Americans are evacuated. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, Washington.
The UN Security Council met to discuss the situation in Afghanistan today, during which U.S. Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield said the council must hold the Taliban accountable and work together to ensure Afghanistan cannot ever again be a base for terrorism. A man who claimed to have a bomb in a pickup truck near the U.S. Capitol has surrendered to law enforcement after an hours-long standoff that prompted a massive police response and the evacuations of government buildings and businesses in that area. Police did not immediately know whether there were explosives in the vehicle. Authorities were searching the truck in an effort to understand what led the man, identified by law enforcement officials as 49-year-old Floyd Ray Roseberry of North Carolina, to drive onto the sidewalk outside the Library of Congress and make bomb threats to officers. A little bit later on KOAM News at 5, an uptick in the cost of your pick-me-up.
A morning cup of Joe is getting more expensive for many Americans. I'm Michael George, and I'll tell you why coffee prices are on the rise.
And next in Health Watch, the app that could help predict illness. Topping today's Health Watch, scientists in Israel say they've made a breakthrough in fighting cancer by using 3D technology. They've used cells from a brain cancer patient to make 3D models of their tumor to test potential treatments before using them inside the body. Researchers took a chunk of a tumor from the brain of a patient with glioblastoma, an aggressive and often deadly cancer. The 3D bioprinted tumor includes a complex system of blood vessel-like tubes through which blood cells and drugs can flow, simulating a real tumor. The patient's blood is pumped through the printed tumor so researchers can test potential treatments before using them inside someone's body. Amazing. Our smartphones track so many things about us, like our whereabouts, our heart rate, and even our oxygen levels. Well, a new app says it can use that information to predict when we may be getting sick. Movement means freedom to occupational therapist Mary Cunningham. She loves to walk her dog, Kobe, but a life-threatening condition that causes her to develop blood clots often brings everything to a stop.
So I've been to the ICU 3 times with quite the stay, like multiple days.
A friend suggested Mary test out the app Sick Predict. Sick Predict monitors health metrics from an iPhone, like heart rate and oxygen levels, to tell you when you may be getting sick. A 1 means you're doing great. One night, Mary saw a 10.
But we caught it early, so I avoided the ER, which was great, and I avoided the ICU.
Patients that can deteriorate really quickly and their health can go so bad so quickly, having this application can definitely help us be on top of the problems earlier.
Primary care doctor Alicia Rodriguez-Jorge uses her wearable device to track her health. It says while it doesn't replace her, it can help get patients to her sooner. SickPredict CEO Joshua Salmon and his business partner developed the app with research from Stanford and Harvard.
There are many illnesses where we're seeing tremendous success. The flu, COVID, norovirus, pulmonary or lung issues, some cardiac issues.
And for patients like Mary Cunningham, a heads up on her changing health can prevent hospitalization or even worse.
And I don't have to always feel like I'm a ticking time bomb.
App wearables like Fitbit and other smartwatches are also being developed at major institutions like Harvard and Stanford. Researchers stress this data does not replace a doctor, but can help patients to a doctor sooner and even help them take better care of themselves. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, an EPA ruling concerning a certain pesticide on foods.
But first, we'll break down how long these rain chances will stick around and how fast the heat will return when we come back. We kept warm once again, certainly despite scattered rain and storms once again, especially during this afternoon so far. And as far as temperatures go, again, kind of a repeat of what we saw yesterday. Upper 80s for Joplin Regional, then those dips in the temperatures with some rain passing through. We did drop to 71 this morning. So far, the warmest I've seen is 89, almost 90 degrees, and then those dips in the temperatures due to rain that worked over the city of Joplin and Joplin Regional itself, where the temperature for the city is officially observed. Again, most of us were quiet overnight, but then we had maybe a couple of scattered storms on our far western counties this morning. Then the bigger scattering of storms, more prevalent rain and storms, again occurred during the afternoon. So let's go in for a tighter view on the radar network. Most of the rain is now shifting north of 400, but if we go in a little tighter, you can see how everything's moving from south to north. So while compared to the past few days, these storms were slow to move, these have picked up a little bit more speed, but we're still keeping an eye around the Joplin region. Haven't seen anything yet, but we're still also monitoring the closure at I-44 westbound from the Mercy exit all the way back to at least Shoal Creek or beyond Shoal Creek. And if it's backed up past range line, I would recommend getting off on the 49 heading west to Joplin or 249, or if you can on range line, get off and there, head 32nd, and hopefully you can get back westbound on 44 beyond the main exit, but we will have to keep a close eye on that. Right now though, 7th and range line, we're looking okay. 83 in Joplin, feels like 90 with dew points sitting at 75. If you aren't in any clouds or rain, you're in the low to mid 80s. Everyone else upper 80s to near 90, but it certainly feels like the upper 90s in some spots, especially 97 in Independence because of all the humidity in place. Thankfully, we get a bit of a lull in the action again late tonight as overnight lows will eventually drop back to 73. We broaden the view out. It's supposed to say the Skywise Storm Tracker, but this is a loop over the past 6 hours. Our front to the north and west will still come into play as we head toward the weekend, while in the upper levels, this upper level out west is going to try to push the front in at least, but as long as this upper level ridge starts coming into play this weekend, that front won't completely sweep on through to cool us down, meaning the heat, it will definitely stick around for the weekend and into next week. Again, during the overnight, we're dry, but by the morning drive on your Friday, we could have some scattered storms popping up early and then scattered storms late morning into the early afternoon. Despite all that, though, I do anticipate some partly sunny skies pushing highs back near 90. 73 in the morning, 85 by noon, afternoon highs near 90. We might get a bit of a break in the action here to start the evening out, but here's 8 o'clock Friday evening as that front decides to work closer to the region. We'll watch for scattered storms late Friday night into Saturday morning. Then I think maybe a couple of isolated to scattered storms for Saturday afternoon with highs topping out right around 90, 91 degrees. So over the next 2 days, depending on how the rain chances, especially Friday night and Saturday morning's rain chances play out, anywhere from 1/10 of an inch to maybe almost 2 inches on the high end. Then once that front lifts out, giving us maybe some rain chances Sunday morning, the heat and humidity, it's on. 90 on Friday, 91 Saturday, 93 Sunday, easily mid-90s through much of next week Dow, with warm and muggy nights waiting for us too as lows only drop back into the mid-70s.
We knew the heat had to return sometime.
It will.
Thanks, Nick. 2 people are dead, around 20 people are unaccounted for after severe storms flooded the Canton, North Carolina area. Hundreds of people searched home to home along the Pigeon River, where hundreds of families are displaced. Some are housed in emergency shelters. Officials say roads and bridges are significantly damaged. Elsewhere, tens of thousands of people are under evacuation orders in Northern California, where wildfires are raging out of control. The Caldor fire has incinerated more than 100 square miles in the area southwest of Lake Tahoe. The largest fire, the Dixie Fire, has been burning for a month and is just 35% contained. This year's California fires are on pace to exceed last year's, which were already the worst in modern history. Coming up, a wake-up call concerning the price of coffee. First, though, we recognize a local veteran of the U.S. Army. Columbus, Kansas resident Jack Gribble served from 1943 to 46. We are proud to salute Jack Gribble. He is a 4-state hero. Topping today's Consumer Watch, the EPA is banning the use of a widely used pesticide on food. It's called chlorpyrifos, and the agency says it's, quote, associated with potential neurological effects in children. The EPA's move reverses a Trump-era decision not to ban the substance. Previously, the government allowed for so-called tolerances that designated an amount of a pesticide that's allowed on food. The ban revokes those tolerances. Employees of Alaska Airlines may soon have to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Other airlines are already making their workers roll up their sleeves for a shot. United Airlines was the first major carrier to do so, saying their employees must be fully vaccinated by the end of October. Frontier Airlines and Hawaii Airlines also have vaccine requirements. Disney announces its new Genie service for Walt Disney World and Disneyland resorts. The free service will be built into Disney Parks' established apps, along with a paid version called Disney Genie Plus that allows guests to access the Lightning Lane for $15 at Disney World and $20 at Disneyland. Lightning Lane is basically a paid version of Disney's Fast Pass that used to be free for guests. The app provides information on current and forecasted wait times for rides. Hundreds of millions of cups of coffee are poured in this country every day, but the popular beverage is getting more expensive. Michael George explains why.
Sweetwater's Coffee and Tea is a growing national chain that's managed to survive during the pandemic.
We have seen many, many more gas come out, certainly since the past year.
But CEO Lisa B. says the company now faces another challenge, the high cost of coffee beans. Drought and frost damaged crops in Brazil, the world's largest coffee exporter. Those shortages, along with shipping slowdowns, are making beans more expensive. The International Coffee Organization says the overall benchmark price is up more than 43% since last year. Now consumers are paying more, from the corner cafe to the grocery store. Sweetwater's is also charging more.
We know Americans love their coffee. How have they reacted to the price increases?
Customers have been very understanding, and we have actually only taken about a 5% price increase.
The NPD group says on average, Americans are spending about 10 cents more for a cup of coffee now compared to last summer. Larger companies have been able to withstand the growing expense for beans, but it's harder for small businesses. Brian Jocelyn owns Mountain Phoenix Coffee in Salida, Colorado, and buys around 3,000 pounds of beans every month.
An average right now is we're paying roughly 30% more. We're talking around $2,000 net profit per month that we're losing.
Jocelyn doesn't want to charge his customers more, but he isn't sure how long he can sustain these losses, especially if bean prices continue to climb. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Large companies like Starbucks are able to lock in bean supplies early. The Seattle-based company has not raised prices for its coffee. Final check of the forecast next. We want to briefly recap our top story, and I believe we have a live picture from the scene control room. If you have that, let's go to it. Otherwise, we'll go to the map. Let's go to the map if we can. There have been a series of accidents, a few of them on I-44 late this afternoon. This was in the Joplin area. Westbound traffic was halted for a time at least between the Main Street exit and the Range Line exit. Eastbound traffic appears to be moving. Westbound might still be halted. We do not at this point know the extent of any injuries from these crashes, although we do understand that there are at least some. We do have a photographer on the scene, and we're going to try to get the very latest for you tonight on KOAM News at 6. In the meantime, of course, if you can avoid that area, that's what you need to do. We do not know exactly what the traffic situation is there at the moment. Nick Kelly, we understand that happened just as a storm was moving overhead. There are still some scattered storms in the area.
Yeah, so needless to say, if you do get underneath the news heavy downpours, we want to be careful as you're out and about this evening. They'll taper off later on tonight, but we'll do it again tomorrow. Highs are 90, but the lower to middle 90s, they are locked in for the next several days now.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here at 6. Let's make it a great evening.